Welcome to TRB Conversations, powered by Exco. I am Brian Morrissey. We're here at our little studio setup at Zuma, joined by Mike Reed, the CEO of USA Today Co.
Yep, USA Today Co.
Yes. New name for the company.
New name, rebranded from Gannett.
So what does that symbolize?
Yeah, first of all, Gannett was a name that I learned the last couple of years. Most people didn't know. And I actually here at Cons last year made the decision to convince my board that it was time to rebrand, because I introduced myself all week as the CEO of Gannett, and everybody said, who's that? And then I said, well, do you know USA Today? And everybody said, oh, yeah, I love that. That's one of the papers that I've always read. And so I went home and said, we need to rebrand so that people know who we are and nobody knows who Gannett is. And it was also very apparent that people still thought about us as a newspaper company. And we needed to tell a story about the digital platform we've built, how big we are, scale we have. And so we thought that tying a rebrand was a great tie-in to retelling the story about who we actually are. Not a newspaper company, but a digital media platform with one of the largest audiences in the U.S.
Yeah. So tell me about subscriptions are more of a focus for, I would say, for most publishers, for sure. What is your sort of strategy around subscriptions?
Subscriptions for us is one of really 4 digital revenue growth streams, and I wouldn't prioritize subscriptions as higher than any of the others. So we focused on digital subscription growth, digital advertising, digital commerce, and then licensing and syndication of our content. And so, subscriptions we think it's a great growth path for us, but it's one of 4, and we're not prioritizing it over the others because we don't think that the opportunity on the subscription side is as big as the addressable market for all of these categories when looking at who our audience actually is.
Okay. So which of the 4 then do you see as like the biggest growth driver?
Oh, if I say over the next 5 years, the biggest growth drivers are commerce and licensing.
Okay.
Yep.
Explain why commerce and why licensing versus say
You're
ads.
essentially starting from zero.
Okay.
And I think they both can be multi-$100-million businesses, where our subscription business today is already over $150 million in revenue, and I think that it's poised to double in the next 3 years, which is great growth. But I think the opportunity on commerce and licensing is significantly bigger. And so that's why I say that those are probably over the next 3 to 5 years, the biggest growth categories. I do think we have a lot of room on the subscription side to run, but it's not our whole business strategy is not subscription.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about AI a little bit. I think I just talked with John Roberts here about some of the stuff that they're doing at People Inc. With blocking the bots, and then trying to come up with a new economic bargain, right? So the open web itself, the economic bargain was always that Google was going to send traffic out. They were going to, usually they were going to get a piece of that through, serving ads on publisher websites. But there was a little bit of a rough symbiosis that's seemingly broken a little bit. The AI engines are giving people answers. There's a lot of talk around here. I don't know if you've noticed the agentic future is here.
Yep.
I've been promised it
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah.
What is the approach that you are taking to getting fair value for the content that not only was used for training, because I think that's finished, but it's very clear that these AI interfaces need fresh content, and news should be well positioned there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we produce news at scale too, and so I think we're well positioned to be one of the leaders in terms of striking licensing deals with the AI companies. But I think probably similar to People, where we have a blocking strategy. So we're only letting in to our platform bots that are authorized to come in. And if you're not, you don't get in, so you don't have access to our content. The traditional Google search business model is dead. It's broken. That traffic is declining, and Google, through AI summaries, wants to keep everybody on their platform by giving them the full answer. So we are going to be in a position soon where we have to block Google as well. Right now, Google does not allow us to choose to block the AI summary product for them and allow content to show up in search. So if it goes, they use it however they want. And so I think we're getting close now to the point where we'll block Google as well and abandon the traditional kind of link search traffic that we get today.
I mean, that would be a major decision
a major step,
to block Google, because I mean, for anyone doesn't like, Google has one crawler for their AI overviews.
That's right.
And they have and for their search index. So
one crawler.
You know, it makes it an impossibility really for most publishers to cut off search traffic. Even if search traffic is down, you know, you still need distribution. But talk me through that decision, because I haven't heard people willing to take it. I've heard a lot of complaints about Google, and I think they're fair. Not separating these crawlers. I'm not a technologist, but I think it's possible.
Yep.
But walk me through how you would come to that decision.
Well, I come to that decision because I think that the traditional Google search model is broken, and we'd be crazy to sit here and just think that it's going to get fixed or that this traffic is going to come to us for the next 10 years. It's not. So what we have to do as responsible business executives is create other ways to bring consumers to us. And that's what we've been working on for the last couple of years, is developing the direct consumer traffic to us. We do that through curated newsletter strategy, text strategy, reaching out, having consumers register or subscribe and then come back, because we're constantly communicating with them. And then also we've really built out on a massive scale our social media strategy. And so we're bringing a lot of traffic in now from social media referrals to our platform. And that is helping us offset the losses we're getting from Google search. So sitting on our hands and hoping Google search is going to get better, not a good business strategy. Trying to create other ways to bring the audience to us. And knowing underneath that we create unique content that's valuable to consumers, so they're going to want to get to us. And I would love to be in a position in the next 12 months or so to say, yeah, Google, you're blocked. I do think there's a chance that those crawlers could separate, and we could be able to block the AI summaries crawler and still feed content to the search crawler, but we're not able to do that today, and so we're not going to plan as if we can. So our plan is to assume search is gone and build our business in other ways.
So that would mean like building a business with a much smaller audience. And I put that in quotes because a lot of the audience was coming from Google or from other sources that was not like necessarily a loyal audience. People were not going and seeking out a lot of publishing brands. But the reality is the math has to work, right? Particularly when you're primarily an ad-based model or even commerce-based model. You got to get people there, right? How does that change how you think about building the business?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, is the underlying content that you're producing, does it have value? Does it have relevance? Do consumers want it? Do they want to engage with it? That's the first step. And there's so much data based on the consumption of our content online that we understand what consumers want, what they engage with. And so we think we have a pretty good feel for the type of content we need to create. And then, if you have great content and a great product, you just need to find alternative ways to get consumers to you, which is what we've been working on. Direct outreach, direct engagement with those consumers, utilizing all the social media platforms to bring consumers in. And the data that I would point you to is that this cratering of traffic coming from Google search has been happening for 2 or 3 years now, right? Publishers have lost significant amount of traffic. And then we're a public company, so our numbers are on the record. And if you look over the last 12 months, our average monthly unique visitors are around 186 million. So it's not like we've lost 25% of our unique visitors over the last 12 months. we were averaging closer to 195 million a year before, but we sold Austin, Texas, which was a big online traffic driver. And so when you adjusted for that, over the last couple of years, our traffic's been pretty steady. And then we also talk about page views publicly. And our goal is to be a billion page views or more per month. And a lot of that page view work is generated by search traffic. And we've not had a month over the last 3 years where we've missed a billion page views. So I do think there are ways to work around the conundrum we have with Google. I would love to have a productive conversation with Google and figure this out in a manner that works best for us and best for them. We've never really been able to have that kind of productive conversation. So our path is we got to build our strategy another way, and that's produce great content that people want based on what the data says, and then make sure we can engage with strategies to bring consumers to us in other ways. And the numbers kind of speak for themselves. If you look at our digital advertising revenue over the last couple of years, it's generally growing, and our traffic is generally flat, and our audience has been generally flat.
How do you think about the future of like the open web publishing? Like, because if we are moving from a platform era to an agentic era, and there's gonna, you can see that there's going to be a lot of agents out there retrieving information, and not just the big LLMs bringing it into chatbots. But we've already seen, I think Cloudflare says now the majority of internet traffic is bots. It has crossed that 50% threshold, and you can see, web pages for humans or web pages for agents, I guess is my question. And it's going to be both, but I wondered, do you think about, whether your web pages are going to be made for agents instead of for humans?
Yeah, it's a great question. Right now, I think our web pages are going to be made for humans. Yeah. That's our strategy. And any bots authorized or understanding who they are or not understanding, verified or unverified bots, we're blocking them all. So the agents that are trying to come in with bots that we don't know who they are, they're not getting in. We will let traffic in, bots in, if we understand who they are and we have a relationship with them, like advertising agencies. So if there's an advertising agency that has an AI agent, and we have a deal with that agency, we'll let them in. We'll essentially, it's instead of a blocking strategy, we have an acceptance strategy. We accept these bots, and that only those bots. Everything else is blocked.
Yeah. How about internally at the company? How are you? The use of AI within news publishing. It can be a little bit controversial, particularly within, journalism. What is the policy on that?
So we have two kind of guiding principles, how we think about using AI, and then we have two principles from an operational standpoint that we want to adhere to from an ROI perspective. The two guiding principles in how we utilize AI for our product and for our consumers is our transparency and accuracy. And so accuracy is top of the list, critical. So any AI we're using to help in the content creation process is a tool, is an assistant tool. It's not start to finish. So we're not publishing content that's AI generated. So there's a human involved in every single piece of content we publish. It's important to us that stories are fact-checked, edited, read. So we're publishing as completely accurate content. So accuracy's number one for us, even though we are utilizing AI to help in the content creation process. Secondly, transparency. We want to be transparent with consumers. So if AI assisted us in the preparation of a story, we disclose that in the story, at the bottom of the story. So a reader can know there was AI assistant. And so accuracy and transparency, number one in terms of how we want to treat the consumer. Number two, and then behind the scenes, the ROI and how we think about the utilization of AI. One is the productivity of the content we're actually producing. How do we make it more productive? How do we generate headlines in a way that is, the data says, engage better, bring more consumers in? how do we make sure the first 3 bullets in a story that summarize the story are the right bullets? And so we can increase the productivity of the great content we produce through AI. And then secondly is efficiency. So how can we produce more content with the journalism team we have today? And when I say more content, we don't just want clickbait content. What we want to do is produce more quality content that's driving our strategy. So being able to take the assets we have today, the investments we make in journalism today, and produce more content with an eye towards the effectiveness of that content are the 2 guiding principles for the ROI on how we want to utilize AI internally.
Okay. Cool. Mike, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Good to be with you. Okay.
Cool. Were you signaling?